Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 195. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. And never regret anything that made you smile. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off all the bowlines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore. Dream. Discover. Mark Twain.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Now, today's show is sponsored by TaylorSound.com. One of the most complicated problems I've had in my professional career is sound, and sound mixing, sound design is generally always very expensive. But Taylor Sound has come onto the scene and has done something pretty incredible. Like so many other things you have in the world today, now you can get your sound design online. They're offering flat promotional rates for commercials, music videos, short films, and any other video content that's short form. They're very affordable, and because you are an Indie Film Hustle Tribe member, will get 15% off your order. Just type in the word hustle in the post your brief section. That's TAILOR sound.com. So today we're going to talk about my top 10 tips for low budget filmmakers. There's so many things that go into making a movie. I just wanted to throw together a quick top 10 of things that really will help you along your path. Now, these are not all the tips. These are not all the things you're going to need to know to make a low budget feature film or project of any kind, but this will definitely put you on the right path. So let's jump in. First and foremost is when you're doing a low budget feature film, tip number one, choose the right script. So many filmmakers decide to go down the path of making a feature film and they get so ambitious. I have been guilty of this myself. If any of you guys have seen my film Red Princess Blues, you can see how ambitious of a project that was. And I ended up spending $50,000 on a short film that did not pay off in the way I wanted it to. So I can only imagine if I would have gone down that road with a feature film version of that or whatever, but it was just too ambitious for what I was trying to do. And a lot of filmmakers make that terrible mistake because they want to make this big thing. They want to make a big splash. They want to be Reservoir Dogs or El Mariachi or one of these big independent movies, and they think the more ambitious it is, the better it's going to be. And when you're starting out, your first couple movies shouldn't be super ambitious. Sure, there are those people out there that can do that. Yes, District 9 was an amazing short film, but the director, Neil Blomkamp, was a visual effects guy, so he had those abilities. So if you have the ability and you have the resources to be ambitious, then go for it. I have a big depth in visual effects and in action and have resources and people that I can reach out to do things like that. But those are the resources at my disposal. If you have those and you have the experience to use those resources properly, then by all means, go for it. But if not, try not to choose a big, ambitious script. Try to do something more character-driven, something smaller, something with less locations, something with a smaller cast, something that you can control and really get the most out of. No stunts, no big effects, limit those locations, and again, limit the cast and utilize the resources you have access to. Tip number 2 is plan. Plan. Spend as much time in pre-production as humanly possible. The more you plan and the more you break this story down and the project down, the easier and smoother it's going to be when you go out to shoot. The more time you take in pre-production will give you the most juice out of the fruit of your labors with your feature or your project that you're doing. Now, tip number 3 is something I've seen so many filmmakers make a mistake on, is not paying everybody, the cast, the crew, favored nations. Now, what is favored nations? Favored nations basically means equal pay for everyone. So if you're going to pay everyone, you're going to pay your main actor $150 to be there because you're paying them less than they're worth. And that's pretty much around the entire crew and cast. So if you're going to pay everybody less than they're worth, make sure you pay them all the same amount. So it doesn't show favoritism. It shows everyone respect, and it just makes everyone feel like they're all going towards a one common goal. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a director pay another actor a little bit more money for whatever reason, and other actors find out about it on set, and it causes a problem. Same thing goes for crew. You're paying one grip $150, you pay another grip $250 because he's more experienced, and all of a sudden that gets out on a set. It is poisonous. It is like a virus that will bring down your entire production. So pay everyone favored nations. Tip number 4, carefully pick either to work with union or non-union people. Now, I'm in the camp that if you're going to do super low budget, sometimes you just can't afford to work with union people, whether that be on the crew side or that work on the casting side. Purely because when you're dealing with union, you're going to have to be dealing with contracts, you're going to have to be dealing with minimums, insurance, all sorts of other things that your budget might not be able to sustain. So be very careful when you decide to use a union player or a non-union player. A lot of times working with SAG, ultra low budget, it is very reasonable. There is paperwork. It's still a pain in the butt. But if you want to get bigger names and actors with more experience, then you might want to go down that road. And same thing goes for crew. Depending on where you are in the country, you can probably get crew non-union, but also you'll be surprised that a lot of union guys are not working sometimes, and they're willing to come out and work for you on a non-union show, depending if you're a right to work state or not right to work state. There's all sorts of different legalities, but talk to these people. A lot of times they're like, look, man, I'll come out and work for you for X dollars, and don't have to worry about any of the union stuff that you have to deal with. But that's a case-by-case basis, and that's something that you need to discuss and negotiate with the union crew member. And by the way, just because you're working with non-union people doesn't give you an excuse or the right to treat them any worse than you would if it was a fully union show. You should have to show them respect. You have to pay them a reasonable rate, make sure they're fed properly. All the things that go along with union, you should definitely be using on your set when you're working with actors or crew people who are union and non-union regardless. Now, tip number 5, and this is arguably one of the more painful things I've discussed. I've devoted entire podcast episodes about this. Camera technology. Don't think that you have to use the latest Red or the hottest Alexa or whatever the latest camera is because it's the new hot tech. Choosing the wrong camera can bury your production. I've seen it happen multiple times, guys. I can't stress this enough. If you're just hiring or just getting a Red Epic Dragon weapon, whatever the damn name of the Red is at this point in the game, and shooting 8K, does it make sense for your project? Does it make sense for your workflow? Because the bigger these cameras, the more things you have to get and rent or buy to make them work properly. And then also that's just the point of hiring the right people behind that camera, which is really the key. You can have a great DP shoot on a 5D DSLR on a compressed file, and I guarantee you it's going to look much better than a guy who has no idea, who's never DP'd before, but happens to be sitting behind a $80,000 or $90,000 Red. It doesn't matter about the technology, guys. Don't get caught up in that aspect of the process. Hire the right people and then use the gear that they have access to or that you can have access to. But don't get caught up with the 4K, the 5K, the Red, the Alexa, or a Blackmagic. I need whatever the hottest, camera is. Think about who is running that camera. Who are the technicians behind that camera that are going to get you the image that you need? So don't fall into that trap, guys. Now, this leads us into tip number 6. One of my favorite conversation pieces, workflow. Understand the workflow from production all the way out to final deliverables, all through post-production. If you do not understand workflow, you will perish. You will die. Your movie will not get done. Am I making myself clear, guys? We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Understanding workflow. So what does understanding workflow mean? It means that if you have a camera, so let's say I got that red weapon, when we're going to shoot 6K on this project, okay? We're going to shoot 6K because it's the hot thing. And I got the red for free. And I got this DP and he's going to make it look amazing. Well, that's great. But do you understand how all that raw footage is going to go into post-production? How is your editor going to handle it? Can your editor handle raw? Probably not. So that means you're going to have to transcode it. How is it going to get transcoded? Who's going to transcode it? Is it going to be the DIT on set, or are you going to have an assistant editor do it? So then you're going to run through all of that, and then you're going to choose the proper, you're going to choose an Avid, a Premiere, a DaVinci Resolve, or Final Cut to edit your project in. Then once you figure out what you're going to edit in, well, the editor likes to use Avid. Okay, great. What version of Avid is he using? Okay, well, let's transcode it. Let's get it transcoded and put it in, and we're going to start running it. So now you edit your entire movie. And if you edit your entire movie, now you got to take it to an online system. So what online system are you going to use? There's multiple. There's Smoke, there's DaVinci Resolve, there's a Baselight, there's multiple different color grading systems and online systems that you're going to run to. So is that Avid going to work and talk to that online system well? And are you going to be able to reconnect to the raw footage, which is massive, by the way? And I'm not even talking about hard drive space, being able to even work with these monster files. This is what I'm talking about, guys. If you don't understand the entire workflow process, you will get killed on this process. You will die. You will not finish your movie. So please reach out to a post-production supervisor. Reach out to somebody who has experience with workflow and talk to them for an hour. Hire them for an hour. I do it all the time. You can, and I'll put a link in the description if you want. I consult constantly, and spending an hour or two with someone like me explaining the entire workflow for you will be invaluable and save you thousands of dollars and even possibly get your movie finished. So please understand your workflow. Now, tip number 7, music rights. So important. Filmmakers always forget about music rights, or they go after these monster songs because they want to have a labeled song, something that's of a popular band or an old popular song, and they try to get the rights to it, and it kills their budget. It just destroys their budget. And yes, it's wonderful to be able to attach a nostalgic song for your film. Trust me, I've gone through this. I would have loved to have a ton of different songs on This Is Meg, but it wasn't in the budget. So my advice is to approach unsigned, talented artists who will either give you permission to use their songs in your movie, or they'll record original music for you. You'll be amazed at how many bands, artists out there would kill to have one of their songs in a feature film. And they'll bend over backwards, not only to give you the song, but so many times they'll record fresh new songs for your film or series. So check that out and make sure you get all the contracts set up. Make sure you have the rights. Then make sure you have all the rights. And don't fall into another little mistake, guys. Festival rights. A lot of times they'll go, well, we'll just give you festival rights. No, you do not want festival rights for any music in your movie. Because if you do that, then let's say you go down the festival circuit, you get a distributor, the distributor wants to distribute your film, and all of a sudden now you got to go back and renegotiate with the band or with the artist to get the rights for worldwide or for whatever else you're trying to sell, and it becomes a problem, and then you have to start paying more, and it just becomes a thing. So always ask for full rights, international, in perpetuity, when it's attached to the movie. But of course, check with an attorney when dealing with any kind of contracts in any part of your production. Now, tip number 8, understand your market. Understand, is your film going to sell? Is it something the marketplace wants? Do your homework. Research your demographic and your market. Is there an actual audience for your film? How are you going to sell that film to this audience? Can you visualize a poster or tagline for your film? Knowing this before you shoot will give you the best chance of making your money back and actually being profitable with your film. Now, tip number 9, for God's sakes, work with professionals. I mean, every step of the way in your project, try to find as many true professionals as you can. If you do not have experience doing something, find professionals you can work with. Even if you do have some experience in some things, find professionals that you'll be able to work with. Find seasoned professionals, people who have been down this road before on all avenues. Your DP, your production designer, actors, writers, producers, line producers, crew people. Now, and then of course in post-production, your editor, your colorist, your online editor, your post-production supervisor, your VFX guy, whoever, all of them. Try to get as many professional people and experienced people as possible. You might have to pay a little bit more money, but you are paying a little bit more money for their knowledge to make sure it goes through easy. I can't tell you how many times I've had to fix films that went down this other bad road where they hired a colorist or they hired an editor who was 20-something, young guy who had never really done it before. And all of a sudden they said, yeah, I'll be able to do it. And they took on much bigger project that they could handle. And the producer spent $20,000, $30,000 going down that road with editing and color grading and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, they don't have a product they can sell. So what do? They bring it to me and they're like, oh, we ran out of money. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You should have come to me first. You should have found someone like me at the beginning. You shouldn't have fallen for any, bananas in the tailpipe, as Axel Foley says. I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You fell for it. Don't hire unprofessional people. Do not hire inexperienced people, especially in key areas of your production. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen too many times. So please do not fall into that trap. And final tip number 10, pay attention to sound. It is the most important aspect of a movie. Bad sound is absolutely intolerable, even much more so than bad picture. The audience will forgive a grainy looking, just badly shot movie, but they will not forgive bad audio. They will not forgive bad sound. Look at Paranormal Activity. Look at Blair Witch Project. These films visually did not have the highest production value in the world, but their sound was tight. Their sound was on point. You have to have good sound. So know how to capture the best sound you can on set, which is so key. And it's not hard, guys. I did it on This Is Meg. I was basically the sound guy on the movie as well, because I was teaching the guy holding the boom how to record the sound. I did the research on the microphones. I did the research on the mixer, on the recorder. And I made sure to get the proper locations and do the proper things to capture the best sound possible. After you've captured that best sound, then give it to a professional sound mixer to do their job and make it sound even better. Do not, I repeat, do not forget about sound. Just because you have a gorgeous image, if your sound sucks, which I've seen before as well, on big, big movies, it will depress you to your core. Trust me. So please, just record good sound. You won't regret it. I promise you. So guys, I hope these top 10 tips for low budget filmmakers helped you out. Again, all I want to do is have you guys succeed as filmmakers, succeed at your journey. And there's so many potholes and traps and alligator pits and moats along the way when you're making a movie, especially when you're making your first or second film, when you really have no idea of the landscape. These few tips that I've given you will at least help you avoid these 10 tips, these 10 potholes and traps along the way. But there are so many other things. So educate yourselves as much as possible. Listen to as many of the Indie Film Hustle podcast episodes as you can. Go to the blog, read. I talk about so much. There's so much content on the blog. There's so much content on the YouTube channel. Of course, the blog, indiefilmhustle.com, the YouTube channel, indiefilmhustle.com/YouTube, and of course, this podcast. And there are many other resources out there as well. So educate yourselves as much as humanly possible. Take an online course, read a book, listen to people who've gone down the path before you. Don't think you're going to blaze a new trail in regards to how to make a movie and you've never made a movie before. Guys who have done that and girls who have done that, they at least went down the path that was worn down before they jumped over and started making a brand new path for themselves. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. All right, so thank you guys. I hope this was of value to you. And if you guys want to get a little bit more education and be part of the Indie Film Hustle's Master Circle, where you can learn filmmaking, social media marketing, screenwriting, and good old-fashioned hustle, definitely check it out. Just go to indiefilmhustle.com/masters circle, and there you'll be able to get all your information that you want to know about the Master Circle, as well as the community, the Facebook group, the exclusive Facebook group you get to, and you get access to me as well. So it is invaluable. I try to create a great resource here for filmmakers. We've got a lot of people that are part of that membership. And today, if you sign up today, you will get the first month for just $1. So go to indiefilmhustle.com/masters circle. And I hope to see you inside. Now, if you want links to anything I talked about in this episode, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/195. And that is all for today, boys and girls. I have a bunch of stuff I'm going to be working on about AFM. My AFM experience was insane. I learned a ton. I met a bunch of you guys out just walking the halls. It was such a thrill to run into the tribe, just literally walking the halls and getting stopped and talking and taking pictures and just really finding out about your projects and how Indie Film Hustle could help you more. It was just such a great experience, not only for that, but also just the learning process and how to, it was my first time actually walking all the halls at AFM, and it was invaluable. So I'm going to do a special episode coming up about what I learned at AFM and what you need to do to take advantage of AFM in the coming years, and what you need to do to hopefully sell your movie and make some money with your film. So, as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.